Hey everyone, Theo here. Today I'm reviewing the Uperfect UStation Delta, which is a dual stack display setup with a folding design. And disclaimer, this is a review unit provided by the company. In this video, I'll just present to you my findings so that you can decide whether this is worth the money. And the price of this display at the time of review is US $499. Now let me give you the bottom line up front. This display looks good and it works well. It's quite compact, and one huge selling point for me is you can fold this and keep it in your cupboard if you don't need this on your table. The other selling point is obviously the triple workspace setup. So a dual display setup is always useful, and this has two displays, so you are going to get a 3 workspace setup, a triple display setup. So if you need this kind of product, well, it's available now and it looks good and it works well. Downsides? Well, the downsides are more of limitations. So this is a 15.6-inch display and the resolution is 1080p, so there will be noticeable pixelation. However, Uperfect also sells larger displays at higher resolutions, and those obviously are going to be more pricey. The other downside, it's not possible to use one single USB-C video cable for video and power because you need more power to power 2 displays. The downside, I measured color support for 79% sRGB and 69% Adobe RGB. So the colors look good, but they are not, I would say, good enough for color critical work. But for displaying documents, surfing the web, or watching videos, they look fine. So that's the bottom line, and now let's move on to the full review. Let's look at the items included in the box. There's the user manual, which you will probably want to spend 1 or 2 minutes to look through. This is a USB-C to USB-A charging cable, 2 full-size HDMI to mini HDMI cables, and 3 USB-C to USB-C video cables. And this is a USB-C power adapter. The plug will vary depending on your country. The power output is 30 watts or PPS 33 watts. The type of cables included may vary depending on the model of the display that you get. Let's look at the design of the Uperfect UStation Delta. So this design looks compact and is portable. The weight is 1.55 kg, so it's kind of heavy, but it's not that heavy. The build quality is very solid because almost everything is made with metal except for the rubber padding and the 4 rubber feet behind. And this is the back with the fold-out kickstand. VESA dimension is 7.5 by 7.5 centimeters. The surface texture is matte, and unfortunately it's quite susceptible to fingerprints. This part here is thinner due to the drop-down design, so you can lift this display up very easily regardless of whether the display is facing up or down. Let's look at the ports. This is a mini HDMI port, a USB-C video port. These 2 are for the top display. This is another mini HDMI port, another USB-C video port. These 2 are for the bottom display, and this is a USB-C port for power. On the other side, we have 2 sets of manual buttons, which is the OSD button and the power button. And also on this side, there are 2 rubber feet for deploying the display in vertical orientation. Alright, let's set up the display. There is a latch here that allows you to open the top display, but this is not something you can open with just one hand, so you need the other hand to press down on the bottom display. So both displays are matte textured, and when I open this, I can feel the hinge is quite strong and the build quality is really solid. So to set this up, you need to, fold out the kickstand behind, and this is how it looks. The hinge is definitely strong enough to hold the top display in whichever position you want. There is no obvious cable connecting the bottom display to the top display, so the cables are probably inside the hinge. And as you can see, this is a very clean and simple design. It's definitely quite thin compared to typical desktop displays. And compared to desktop displays, this setup actually doesn't take up that much space on the table. And if you want even more space on your table, you can just fold this and keep this away and use your laptop or another monitor that you may already have. So this setup is very compact. I've just connected this Windows laptop to the dual displays, and this laptop can output video from USB-C and HDMI. Right now I'm using just one USB-C video cable and it's able to drive 2 displays. If I use the HDMI port, it can only drive 1 display. So if you need to use HDMI to drive the displays, you will need 2 HDMI ports. The displays do not support power delivery, so the displays cannot charge the connected laptop. So I have this laptop connected to additional power as well. The dual displays have to be connected to power because we are talking about powering 2 displays. So the USB-C port from your computer or from your laptop may not be powerful enough to power 2 displays. If you disconnect the power from the dual displays, some things can happen, such as the laptop can only power 1 display, or the displays can flicker, or you may not be able to power the displays at maximum brightness. If you're using the dual displays with Windows, chances are the setup is pretty straightforward. It's plug and play. However, if your computer cannot drive 2 displays for whatever reason, you may have to install this additional display link driver. If you're using the dual displays with macOS, you will need to install that extra display link driver. Straight out of the box, the color reproduction looks pretty good. The colors are surprisingly good and are able to match my laptop display, which by the way is not that color accurate. So now I'm going to color calibrate all these 3 displays to check the color support. I tried color calibrating the display with my Spider 5 Pro and I encountered some issues. I was only able to measure the brightness but not calibrate the colors, and I measured a maximum brightness of 288 nits for this top display and 203 nits for the bottom display. For some reason, I was able to color calibrate the bottom display but not the top display. So for the bottom display, I measured color support for 79% sRGB, 68% NTSC, 69% Adobe RGB, and 67% P3. So the colors actually look alright out of the box, so you may not need to do additional color calibration. But if the colors look off and you don't have a color calibrator, then you will have to go into the OSD menu to tweak the sRGB and the color temperature. The colors actually look alright to me. The colors look vibrant enough and the brightness is adequate even in a bright room environment that I'm in right now. But these displays are not suited for color critical work such as graphic design, photo and video editing. But for displaying documents, surfing the web, watching videos, they look and they work fine. This is how the displays look from the side compared to this laptop display, which is also matte textured. So the anti-glare works fine, as in the reflections are not diffused to turn the whole display white. And you can see obvious drop in brightness from this angle, and the laptop display looks brighter at this angle because my camera is actually closer to the laptop display. So let's move to the front, and this is how the displays look from the front. They look the best from the front. And let's move the displays. I'll move my camera to this side. So now you can see the laptop display has obvious drop in brightness simply because my camera is now closer to these 2 displays. And from this angle, which is from the side, the colors do look alright. For US $499, I can't complain much about the color support for these 2 displays. Anyway, this is not a laptop that I use for color critical work because the color support for this display isn't the best either. So when I have these three displays side by side, they look, the colors look similar to me, and that's good enough. That's the most important thing. The resolution is just 1080p, and on a 15.6-inch display, there will be noticeable pixelation even when working from one arm's distance away. Anyway, if you really need high resolution, Uperfect does sell another model with dual 18-inch displays with 2.5K resolution. I mentioned this is not a touch screen. Matte textured displays are usually not touch screen displays. Refresh rate of the two displays is 60 Hz, so if you scroll really quickly or if you move things around really quickly, you will see the 60 Hz jutter, but this is expected with 60 Hz refresh rate. Shown on the screen right now are the different folding display models currently available from Uperfect, and this table shows the differences. You can pause this video to look at the differences, or you can head over to Uperfect's website to check out the comparison table. The link is in the video description below. So this is the selling point of a dual display, in this case a triple display setup. You can have 3 workspaces and you can move windows around very easily if you are using Windows, because Windows has this Windows arrow key shortcut, so you can use this to move windows to different displays. This is quite convenient. If you're using Mac OS, you have to install this app called Rectangle, which will sort of give you this similar feature for snapping windows into different screens, into different areas, rather than just using the mouse to move the window around, which you can see is not as convenient compared to using keyboard shortcuts to move them around. So with 3 workspaces, you can do a lot of work. You can do some writing on your main display and have your source material or research on the other displays. You can watch a video while you play games. You can chat with someone while you are reading a news article. There is just so much you can do with a triple display setup. Let's go through the features on the company's website and talk about how they differ from reality. So here it shows you this phone which is connected to the display. Yes, you can connect your phone to the display provided that your phone can output video, but you will only be able to output video to one display. So you can connect your phone to the top or bottom display and connect the other display to something else, or maybe your computer or some other tablet. I see many of the product photos or videos showing the folding design. You can definitely fold the displays this way, and this is the lowest angle that the bottom display can go, because this kickstand is locked at this angle. Personally, I prefer to have the display face me, so I prefer to use it this way. Maybe I can tilt this slightly, but I prefer to have the displays more upright. The dual displays sit quite low on the table, so if you need to elevate the display, you may need to use a laptop stand or a VESA arm mount behind, and those obviously are sold separately. It is possible to rotate the display, although the difference isn't that noticeable, because right now you can see this orientation or this aspect ratio is, I would say, kind of squarish. And if you turn it this way, note that there is no auto rotation, so you have to go into the OS settings to change the rotation. And this aspect ratio is still kind of squarish. It's just that the workspace is now 2 vertical displays versus 2 horizontal displays. Anyway, you have the option to use the 2 displays vertically or horizontally, and there are 2 rubber feet here beneath to prevent the displays from scratching your table. And you also need to fold the kickstand behind so that the displays can prop up vertically properly. And now let's see what you can do with the OSD menu. So to open up the menu, just press the directional toggle by the side. And the power button will also double as a back button. So if you press this, it will close or go back. So this is the OSD menu for the bottom display. To open the menu for the top display, you press the OSD button at the top. So when the OSD menu is not showing, this directional toggle will adjust the volume, and obviously the speakers are not that great. Okay, so let's see. This is where you can select the different sources, input source, video source. You can adjust the brightness, contrast, and volume. Just press once to enter, and you can move around all these options. And press again to enter, and now you can adjust the settings. It's not as easy to move around as it seems, because when you have the red highlight, sometimes it means you can move around, sometimes it means that settings is selected and you can change it. Okay, let's go back. Okay, now the red is here. So this is where you can change the saturation and adjust the RGB and the color temperature. If you play games, these are the different settings that I would say would affect games. There is 3D sound. By the way, I did not test all this. There is game mode, sharpness, crosshair, reset. What is this? English, the language, HDR. This is not true HDR because the maximum brightness of this display is just 200 nits, and for the top one it's 280 nits. Alright, to conclude, a dual display is always useful. It's not even an opinion, it's a fact. A triple display setup is even more useful. And this product works well, it looks good, the design looks good, it's compact enough to be portable, and if you do not need this, you can keep this away in your drawer, which is quite convenient because I don't usually have much table space, and I'm not referring to this table. As to whether it's worth $499 US, well, you can decide. And if you are interested to buy this, you can check out the purchase links that I have for you in the video description below. I hope this video is useful, and if you have other questions regarding this display, let me know in the comment section below. See you again. Bye.